Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the City Infrastructure meeting. I notice that the people at the back corner are still there chatting, so if we can sit down and start our meeting, that would be wonderful. We did give a minute's notice. People are just speaking very loudly. I'd like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we are gathered and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting of the 28th of November. I declare this meeting open at 9:55 a.m. I'd like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. I note that we don't have any leave of absences, although Councillor Bannon has left the room for just a short period of time. That being said, we'll move on to declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors have conflicts of interest to declare for today's meeting? There being none, thank you very much. I'll now refer to the reports on today's agenda. The only report is item 5.1, Capital Roadworks and Drainage Program, Quarterly Report, July to September 2023. I'll ask Mr Darryl Riley, the Road Infrastructure Delivery Manager, to enter the discussion and present his report.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I will take the report as read. It's a fairly standard report which we actually provide each quarter on where our program is, but I'll just talk to a couple of highlights rather than running through the entirety of the presentation. So at the end of September, our capital delivery was at 40.3 million. Following the end of the first quarter, we have effected budget amendments for changes in funding scenarios which we have. So that's brought in the LRCI funding which Council allocated to projects within this year, black spot funding which was provided via the federal government, and service enhancements which went through in last year's budget. At the start of the year, our capital program was 125.4 million. With those changes, that sees our capital program increase now to 134.2. Our expenditure at the end of September is still in line with achieving that target for Council. At the end of October, our capital delivery was at 53.6, which on our programmed year to date still sees us at 111% of the targeted expenditure to date to meet our objectives. Our overall targeted expenditure at the moment is sitting between 30 to 40 million, and we will hone on that a bit closer as we get to the end of the year. The only other project that I will talk to is Mundoolan Road. In the report, at the end of September, when we were at the quarterly report stage, we had just put the seal on Mundoolan Road, and we listed that that project was effectively at completion. Since the seal going down, the contractors actually had some difficulties with the seal. There's been deterioration in that. The contractor went back and did some immediate remediation works to try and address that process. That has not been successful. It has continued to deteriorate after the work that they've done. They've engaged in specialist consultants at this point in time and are undertaking tests on the pavement as well. They will be coming back to us shortly in regards to the works they will effect to rectify that process. But we are mindful that it is quite visual and the community would be across that. But I guess we want to give reassurance that the contractor is very aware of his obligations and is working diligently with us to address that issue. That's all I really have to talk to, unless there's any questions.
Thanks very much. I'll open the floor to questions. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Through the chair, actually I decided I might just send you an email, Mr Riley, because I know that in one of the projects that is listed here, there's some parks works that are going to be happening. So I just want to make sure that everyone's talking. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that notice. Councillor Murphy.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Darryl. Thank you for your report. I just want to make a quick note and thank your team for the Cowper Avenue and Kelly Street catchment master drainage. I understand that there is a newsletter going out to the letterboxes. I believe some people have already received it this week with regards to the work that we are having in that area. And just let the community know this is a major investment of $30+ million. There's a lot of work going around. There's a lot of big holes happening out around there. And I understand that your team have hit rock in some areas and had to get rock breakers in, and there's a bit more extra noise and a bit more extra dust. And that if the community could please be patient with our team at the moment. It may extend the work a little bit, and that in the end, this is just there to help with our drainage. And if our community could just please be a little bit more patient with the diversions that we have in the roads and alike. But I thank your team for working hard. I know you're doing it tough out there. So thank you, and can you pass on to the team? Thank you very much.
Certainly will, thank you.
Especially Erin, thank you.
Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you very much, through the chair. Thank you, Daryl, for the presentation and for the report. In the conclusion in the report, it actually says that the packages are tracking ahead of planned works. Are we still tracking ahead of schedule?
For the 23-24 financial year, as at the end of October, we're 111% on our budgeted expenditure year to date, so we're ahead of program on the works that we have. Now, some of that's been in our rehab program, but some of it is certainly on the bigger projects that we're actually delivering at the moment. Loganlea Road is probably top of the list for that. We're well in advance of where we probably expected to be on that project, and it is a significant part of this year's program. So we are certainly ahead of schedule at this time, yes.
So does that mean with the upcoming major construction projects that they will be scheduled ahead of schedule then? So that we can actually, so Teviot Road upgrade, the work is commenced to start next year. So I'm just wondering, will it actually fall in the first quarter of next year? So January to March, will it be able to push ahead?
While we're ahead of schedule, that effectively means we've pre-delivered work which is still funded this year. So it doesn't actually bring funding forward for us out of subsequent years. So it is a scheduling process for us to try and make sure that we deliver as much as we can out of the program and ensure that, but it doesn't give us facility to draw upon future capital years funds. So where we're looking at the likes of Teviot Road, we can't deliver that until we actually have the funding in the year that it's actually allocated.
Okay, if we can plan a catch-up before the end of the year, before everyone breaks, so I can get an update on all the scheduled plans of work, that would be terrific. Thanks.
Now the questions from councillors. Thank you very much. There'll be a motion popped up on the board. Moving, Councillor Murphy. Can I have a seconder? Mayor Power. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of our reports. Now, Mr. Basterfield from Logan Water can't be here today. Sylvia will answer any questions on his behalf. Does anyone have any general business for Logan Water? Does anyone have any general business for Mr. Riley? Does anyone have any general business for the Director? Councillor Raven, followed by Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Silvio, yesterday I hopped on to check the flood mapping for a property on behalf of a resident while I was having a chat to them. Normally I would do that on my mobile phone. It's very quick and easy through loganhub.com.au. Go check it out. But the new flood portal is available and no longer lets you check flood mapping on a mobile phone. So in 2023, that doesn't cut the mustard. Can we look into why that's happening and see if there's an option either to still have a mobile-friendly version, or hopefully the flood portal's just in an evolutionary state where mobile phones won't be discriminated against in the near future?
Yeah, I haven't been as close to that as you might like, but I will certainly look into whether there's more development to go or whether it is just a something that cannot be done on the mobile phone, but we'll look into that and provide a response.
Could just be my mobile phone. Maybe it just doesn't like me.
Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Just on the flood mapping, I remember asking, and I thought this was going to happen, but I haven't seen it happen yet. I thought the flood mapping was actually meant to have an overlay on there so the residents could see their old flood mapping versus what it is now, but it doesn't seem to be on there.
No, I'm not sure that was ever the intent. The intent was certainly to have the new flood risk mapping on there, and to, if you into the detail, it would have previous event information on it. So I'm not sure it ever was going to provide the old maps, if that's what you're thinking. because the old maps are no longer valid, and so there would be no benefit in showing old maps. But yeah, if I've got something wrong, I'd happily check into it. If other councillors had that perception, I'm glad to look.
I've received quite a few complaints just recently because people have just found that the flood mapping has been updated again, and they can't see, or they can't look at like the old one overlaid over the top, because the old one's completely gone. There is no record of old flood mapping whatsoever. And I thought it was maybe a tool that you could switch on and off, or something like that. It would be handy, but residents have nothing. They can only see the new ones.
Yeah, as I said, the old mapping is definitely turned off because that didn't include the latest information. So the old mapping is definitely turned off. I thought when you drilled down into each property, you could get more detail on previous events, and so there was more information in the property report than ever has been. But I don't see how we could continue to provide old mapping once council signed off on a new mapping and a new model. The flood risk mapping, which is adopted in the planning scheme, is what is in the new mapping.
Maybe it's just clunky because you can't see it on your phones. I'm not sure, because lots of people have said it's not very user friendly. But by the way, that actually. Thank you for the update on Undella Road. Just curious, I'm trying to work out if it's actually going to stretch with the new work, if it's actually going to stretch down to 1,829 Undella Road. You said 7,000 Undella, but I'm not quite sure if that's number 7,000, because I don't know that there is a 7,000 Undella Road, or if it's 7,000 metres short of Undella.
All I did was look at the City Maps councillor, and that was the closest property to where the green line on the map I sent you showed up. It actually shows up next to a little dam that's actually within Flinders 2 estates. So without sending someone out there, I won't be able to, unfortunately, tell you the exact property number. 7,000 is what City Maps shows. 7,000 Undella Road.
No other general business for the director from councillors? So I've got some general business today, and I was approached by a local business in Councillor Hall's area, and it was in relation to high vis wear, and in particular a project that they were working on for domestic violence. Now, it's called Gowan Supplies, and I'll just hold the shirt up. So Purple for Domestic Violence. It was created by Michael Grundon and his team down in Meadowbrook. It was from an artist that grew up in Marsden, whose grandma still lives there. And a certain amount from every shirt goes to domestic violence causes for all victims of domestic violence, regardless of their sex or their sexuality. I think this is a really important cause, and I just wanted to highlight it in council that it's great that a local business is taking on this sort of initiative. I know that we have Trademark that we work closely with, who does mental health for a lot of people, and our staff proudly wear that. I would love to see some of us proudly wearing some of these purple shirts, because I think it's a great cause, and being the infrastructure committee, I just thought I'd bring it to the attention of the director and anyone else that wants to listen at home. Anyway, thank you very much. If there's no further business from anybody, I declare the City Infrastructure meeting closed at 10:08 a.m. Thank you very much for your time.